Riot just posted about this on their social media, and Viego is coming to WildRift. They finally made it happen. Over 2.5 years ago, I think even 3 years ago, they said they will not do Viego anytime soon, and they're finally unfreezing this project. This champion will hit the Chinese PBE today, so the moment I see some gameplay, you best believe I'll be covering this. And with this, welcome to the WildRift news. And for today, we are going to talk about a lot of different things. So let's start with this. First off, we have the Viego release, which is scheduled to release in April if I'm not mistaken. There's another thing coming, and it's going to be the Kindred release. So we're going to we're going to take a look at all of these champions, and then take a good look at what they're about to do and what they can do. And there's another thing we need to talk about, and it's the Talon Hotfix. But keep in mind, the Kindred thing, when it's going to be released, is just a rumor, but given the current pacing of the patch, we can assume that it's going to come near the end of March, which makes sense because, well, 5.1 is around the corner in April. Without any further ado now, let's hop straight into the video. To give you a proper idea what Viego looks like, let's take a look at the PC video when Viego was released. So, let's take a good look at the beauty, the brokenness, and the unique nature of Viego. When you see this gameplay, you're like, what the hell is this champion even doing? He is killing people, and then he's picking up their souls and turns into these champions? That looks incredibly overpowered, so, well, that is Viego, the Ruined King. And without any further ado at this point, we'll hop straight to the ability rundown thanks to Riot Games. First off, we have Sovereign Domain. If Viego kills somebody or does damage to a target and it then dies, you'll see that they'll leave this lovely mist corpse behind. If Viego clicks this, he will copy this champion, pick up all their items, and literally turn into these champions. If he picks up a champion before he's level 6 or level 5 in WildRift, he doesn't have an ultimate ability, but the moment he is level 5, he has his ultimate ability again. With this, he can basically reset his own ultimate ability every single time he picks up a ghost or a mist person, and then he just copies them, has the ability to throw all the abilities out, and it's just an absolute easy going. His first ability is called Blade of the Ruined King. This one has an active and a passive part. For the active part, he stabs you with the sword, and if he hits you with any ability, the moment you skill this ability, he will apply a lovely mist to you that he can then auto-attack you with to deal even more damage. So if you're thinking about, wait, Blade of the Ruined King, that's an item in the game. And yeah, you're exactly right. Blade of the Ruined King is an item in the game, and it works exactly the same as this ability does. If he hits you with an ability, he can proc the passive and deal you bonus damage. And his second ability is called Spectral Maw. He can charge this ability, then dash forward, and if he hits an enemy target, it then is stunned. It is also an auto-attack cancel. The same goes for his first ability. So you have an auto-attack cancel on your first ability, and your second ability, which is a lot of bonus damage if you do it right. However, sadly, with Viego you cannot go over walls with your second ability. But what is his third ability called Harrowed Path? His third ability is a stealth ability. You see this nice zone he's dropping? If he's inside of this zone, he is invisible. If he hits a wall with this zone, then this mist extends and he gains bonus movement speed, if I'm not mistaken, bonus attack speed. But I'm wondering which version of Viego we are going to get on WildRift, but I was told that there's no significant change so far to Viego's base kit. So he's walking around the map, invisible, which for WildRift terms is going to be absolutely broken. Him being not visible means he doesn't exist, and yeah, you know what WildRift people do. For his ultimate, we have Heartbreaker. Viego teleports and knocks away people away from the center of the spell. And this spell, as I said earlier, resets if you pick up the soul, or the corpse, or whatever you want to call it, of an enemy champion. Needlessly to say, it also does something very curious, or very peculiar, because it allows you to go through CC. If you cast this, you cannot be cancelled during the cast, allowing you to avoid certain CC, and therefore not dying to, well, the shenanigans. He is streaking forward, and it's going to be such a crazy champion in WildRift, and I don't even want to know which bugs we are going to encounter. If you want to, we can take a look at few bugs of Viego. I think I'm down for that. And you see his damage here, and for the build, like there's so many different build options that we have available to us. Stu posted on his website, I think already a decent build, I've talked to him, and this champion will probably have two different builds, a bruiser and a more snowbally build. In jungle, you can probably run, ooh, nice hook here. You can probably run Blade of the Rune King, you can probably run Yuma's Ghostblade with sudden impact, whereas in laning, in the lane, you probably go for something like Blade of the Rune King, since it synergizes so well with your champion's kit in general. But you see here, the streaking nature, going for play after play after play, nice Bard Portal, which champion, we don't even have the champion yet, and this is going to be a next champion that is also going to break the game, because support champions are utterly broken, flashing away from the Olaf, getting absolutely blasted by the Olaf, no chance of survival here, but even a Malphite is not necessarily safe, but very peculiar to see. I think there was some electrocute proc onto the Malphite, but it doesn't really matter. You see the kit here, beautifully highlighted, and what he can do. With that tackled now, let's move over to WildRift. Okay, thanks to WildRift skin spotlights, we have the footage of WildRift Viego. And as you can already see, his skin tone is slightly different. He also looks a tiny bit different in comparison, but, well, it's always the case. I think the WildRift version, because of the Chinese market, is always going to look a tiny bit different. Obviously, the WildRift game looks way more polished than the PC version. Like, it's not even remotely close. WildRift is just a superior game in that sense. But sadly, it's not regarded as that one, and not even known as much, which is very, very sad, because this game is absolutely beautiful. And you see, look at the animations. Look at what this champion can do. Look at the transformation as well, like this armor. Like, he looks like a character straight from Elden Ring. Nice recall animation, looks very clean. I'm curious with which skin he's going to be released. I don't know. But it looks very smooth so far. Would be curious to see if there's any animation cancels he's doing already. But you see the attack speed after the enemy is inflicted with the passive. Looks like it's increased. And yeah, it's very, very interesting to see if we're going to see peculiar builds. Well, that looked very weird, the indicator. Look at the animation gap from PC to WildRift. Like, this looks so much cooler, no? But build-wise, I'm very curious to see what people will start cooking. That's crazy. Yeah, and you see he's sped up in this stealth area. And I'm really, really curious how much damage... Oh, he doesn't knock back on this version, as it seems? It doesn't seem like it knocks back. Oh, now it knocks back. Interesting. But yeah, here you see him take over, you get every single spell instantly ready on the enemy champion, apart from the ult, you only get your own ult back, and you need to be careful to not pick up a wrong champion, because, well, if you pick up a champion that doesn't have any items, well, you don't deal any damage, which is one of the issues when it comes to Viego. And you also have to know every single ability of other champions to pilot this champion really well. For laning and generally understanding the champion, it's most likely just going to be a jungle. Melee champion with AoE abilities and a steroid during the jungle clear? That sounds very broken to me, if I'm honest. And yeah, with that done, we are now hopping over to the next part, which is going to be Kindred. Kindred, the Eternal Hunters. Kindred is not only one person or one monster, it is split into two. So Kindred lore enjoyers, please feel free to share with us what Kindred is and what she does. And before we even do anything, let's take a good look at the skins that are already on the default version on typical PC, like the classic Kindred and the Shadowfire Kindred. To this day, there are so many more skins and they look absolutely insane, but personally, I think Shadowfire Kindred is one of the most beautiful skins in the game. And now let's talk about the abilities of this champion. For your passive, you have the Mark of the Kindred. It follows a certain logic. I don't know how it will work on WildRift, but the jungle camps will be marked automatically from a set selection depending on your mark count, and you can mark an enemy champion to apply a mark to them. If you kill this champion, you will get a stack, and this stack will then empower your abilities as well as empower your auto attack range, depending on how many stacks you have. You need to get 4, and then every 3 you get another advancement on range, and I think damage, and all your spells get empowered apart from your ultimate. And obviously it has a cooldown, you cannot just pick up 15 marks in 2 seconds, but I'm curious how they will actually deal with this on WildRift, because it seems like a very tedious mechanic, or not tedious might be the wrong word, too complex of a mechanic, because you have to plan ahead so far, and since WildRift is so fast-paced, this needs to be done very fast, and I think there will be a lot of tweaking happening with this, and especially with jungle camps, how is it done here? And because there's a certain element of RNG that the first mark will always be one or the other scuttle, and how does it work in WildRift? How much does it punish you if it messes up, and how much cooldown will be there when you do it on a champion? And your first ability is an auto attack reset dash, or tumble, which is basically a dash. You do this, you hit 3 targets with this spell, as well as being able to jump over terrain, and you gain an attack speed steroid. Your second ability is placing down an area of effect spell that has single target. You secure an area, and in this area your wolf will run around and bite people. This damage, at least on PC, is current HP physical, but it scales with your mark count. So the more marks you have, the more damage it will deal. For the jungle, unless it's changed, if this wolf hits a camp, it deals more damage to the camp, and the camp is slowed, so it's easier for you to kite them. Another nice thing on this passive on Kindred is, or at least was in the past, you have stacks that function separately from your passive, and every single time it's fully stacked, similar to a magnetic blaster, you get extra healing. Kindred's third ability is a stacking spell. You apply it on an enemy champion, and then you see like a little mark appear, as you see here, and then every single auto attack, including your first ability, applies another stack. And if the enemy is low HP, it will crit to deal even more damage. We just saw the old Irelia. But the trick here is using it with Kindred's ultimate ability. Kindred's ultimate ability is Lamb's Respite. You place it down and nothing can die in your zone. It will drop to a certain HP threshold, and then they will be immune to healing and damage. Very important, immune to healing and damage. And after this, they are getting healed from the ultimate, and there comes the trick. Kindred can place their third ability during her ultimate, and then as it's about to disappear, she can trigger the third mark as it disappears on her third ability to deal a massive amount of burst damage and make sure that she will always win in 1v1s. And that is something very, very important that will make it so crazy for you to play this champion, because it's such a massive advantage, but be really careful. You might be able to mess up an entire fight by using the ultimate wrong. Now with this done, we have to talk about the Talon hotfixes. First off, Talon was fine for jungle, but most definitely not fine for mid lane. But there are many issues with these buffs, and Riot is really pushing it a little bit too far. So all of you know that this champion had really big performance issues. A 38% win rate in the jungle, and I think an even lower win rate in the mid lane on the Chinese server. The issue is, number one, the champion was just released, so the play rate, like many people want to play this champion but have no idea about the champion. And since this champion isn't as overtuned and easy as other champions, like for example Hecarim, the results will be very terrible. With this in mind, you have to take a good look at the stats and be like, okay, does this mean the champion is bad? Or are people just not yet used how to play this champion? Because there are many things that you need to do on this champion to make him work well, or to make him broken. But to make him as powerful as, for example, a Kha'Zix, you need to be an absolute demon, like very good on this champion, like an absolute master, whereas Kha'Zix is so much easier to play and so much more effective. But the biggest difference, for example, on Talon is just executing your combo right. And for this, we'll just do a little detour to one of the videos. So now, Take a good look at what I'm doing. I'm walking behind a wall, I'm going to jump the wall with my third ability, and then mid-air I'm going to ult to gain the movement speed bonus to get close to a target. I am not using my first ability to go close or get close, because it's a massive damage loss for multiple reasons. Watch closely, I walk closer, I'm close, I'm waiting for my ult blades to slowly come back. You see the timer on my ultimate ability right now, and as it comes back, I use my second ability, and then I use an auto attack into my first ability because there's an auto attack cancel into another instant auto attack. And then I walk away. So now look at the damage. The bleeding damage has not yet taken. It's 3,154. I walk away for fun. I look back, 3,649 damage in a full burst combo from Fog of War in stealth, 100% reproducible, no counterplay. The only issue is that could potentially happen is you might get locked down instantly after, but for this purpose, you still have Proto Belt. And I didn't use Ignite, so this damage combo is easily 4k damage. And this from stealth, and this is pre-buff Talon. To put this again into perspective, like now I have a full, like a crit build, look at it again, I'm ulting from very far away, I'm walking close, I'm using my second ability, quick combo, look at the damage without Ignite. 4,101 damage without Ignite. If that isn't enough damage, then I don't know how much more damage you want to deal. To make it fair now, however, I'm going to sell all my items, put myself to level 7, and do a full combo with just boots and Youmuu's Ghostblade on a 100 armor dummy, which means it's effectively 50% damage reduction without using Ignite. So again, I'm going to utilize the same combo. I'm going to pop ult, walk close, use my second ability, point blank, auto attack Q reset, full combo. 922 damage against 50% armor, 50% damage reduction. 100% reproducible at any point without any counterplay. Now with this out of the way, let's think about the following problems. Number 1, why is Talon so bad in mid lane? Talon doesn't really have proper wave clear with his second ability, he just messes up the wave and it's very difficult for him to reach the enemy because he doesn't do enough damage when he has to use his first ability to reach the enemy champion. So what are they doing to make this champion more healthy in the mid lane? They give him more base health, which is a good approach because this champion is indeed very, very squishy. Another thing they're doing is they're buffing Talon's passive ability, Blade's End. The damage from the passive is amplified by 5 on level 1, by 65 on max level, and by 10% AD, and this already has a bonus modifier with monsters. Now the next thing they're doing is they're buffing the cooldown of Noxian Diplomacy from 8 seconds on level 1 to 6 seconds, so you will always start with this ability because it's so broken. Now on the highest level, you will have 2 second cooldown, less than before, which means with all the cooldown reduction you have, you will get closer to like 3 seconds, which will then allow you to use your first ability as a gap closer to then pop ult and have another first ability afterwards. You can also play around Sheen procs a lot better because you have this ability more often. But not only this, Riot also thought about the potential of people using the first ability to gap close, and because they're losing so much damage by doing so, they're buffing the hell out of this ability. On level 1, it is granted 30 bonus damage, and on max level, again, it's 30 bonus damage. For free, for nothing, simply because the jump didn't do enough damage. If that wasn't enough, we have Rake. The outgoing damage is being increased by 10 plus 10% scaling, and the returning damage is also buffed by 10 plus 10% scaling. So you can pretty much imagine what this champion is going to do to you if he touches you. If he gets a full combo off, which was already okay beforehand, he is now going to kill you. But the biggest issue with this champion is his inability to proc crown, so he needs to play with Proto Belt to proc the crown with Proto Belt, so he has his cooldowns to kill the target, or somebody else procs crown for him. He has a massive disadvantage against any crown user because he is a very committal champion in the form of cooldowns, and otherwise he cannot proc crown and can never kill a mage in late game. Big issue, but any AD carry that is not able to pick crown will instantly die without even being able to press exhaust. And this is very, very important. You have to remind yourself, Talon is about patience. Talon isn't about just spamming buttons. If you spam buttons on this champion, you're the issue. You need to be patient, and then you will finally understand how good this champion can be, but you need time to properly master him, pick your fights, and then win. Needless to say, this champion does not compete with Lee Sin, Evelynn, Hecarim or Kha'Zix, because compared to these champions, he is very difficult to play, very unique in the way he's being played, and not only this, he is a lot weaker for a lot more effort in direct comparison. Lee Sin jumps into your face, kicks you, and yeah, that's it, you're dead. Evelynn appears next to you, you're dead. Hecarim runs at you, doesn't die, you're dead. Kha'Zix sees you for a quarter of a second, okay great, you're dead now. So you see, like if you compare this champion to these champions, he can never be as broken as them unless they keep on doing what they're doing here. And the best players on Talon will now absolutely skyrocket because trust me, this will not be the last buff this champion sees. Because we are playing WildRift, you know how it goes, if a champion is a little bit difficult to pilot, it will be buffed to oblivion. And with this, we're at the end of today's video. If you like this new format, let me know in the comments below, and as per usual, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and see you soon for more RiftGuides content.